So I am recording week 4.5 to share with Patricia. And as part of a catch up that I would like her to have in order for us to keep moving forward. So I have prepared these notes and I hope that they are very valuable and clarified your concerns. And as you watch these, perhaps you can write some notes and I will be able then to clarify it in Spanish if it's necessary. However, it's a little bit difficult for me to deliver all my content in Spanish and knowing that there might be some constraints with language and comprehension. So I am willing to then elaborate when you identified whichever points from this presentation are challenging and perhaps escape the understanding that you have of this concept. So this is also based on the 4 previous weeks, and as we elaborated and shared many concepts around values. And so I'm going to share my screen, and here we are. And I'm sharing the this presentation. And so here we are. The aim is to activate your inner alignment. And we, or I, chose to talk about this theme of values. This expression here that I put in this slide, soy completamente capaz. So this was used by you in your journal. And I have a question for you. How often do you tell yourself this statement? And how does it feel? So perhaps make a note on that. And I wanted to introduce you to this because the R, I, M, R for Robert, I for India, M for Maria, is a concept that through repetition and immersion and modeling, then we achieve further and greater improvement. So in repeating this, in immersing yourself to this, that you are absolutely capable, and modeling people that you have seen that are capable. So, how does it feel for you? And I wanted to explore that because really this program is about mindset and also the bigger promise. The bigger promise is that I say to clients, I help you redefine your future on your terms. And let's go back briefly to what you originally mentioned that you wanted to achieve. And I think for what I remember is about achieving the concept of a digital agency, an agency, but that you are much more than a graphic designer, an architect. You are an architect of branding and so on. And I have shared with you several concepts for you to, at this stage, then start putting that on your radar, on your vision, and clarifying exactly what is the title, even though it might just change along the way. And so, yo soy completamente capaz. And that is beautiful. It is beautiful to see and that you have declared that. And I have no doubts. I never have. So for today, And we were covering this last week. Unfortunately, some health constraints came for you. And I say that I wanted to call it 4.5. And, some people, when they're starting life, again, in here in Australia or in the Anglo-Saxon vocabulary, they call it 2.0. And so I wanted to call it 4.5 as a halfway in between week 4 that we saw. And I share the video, which you dislike, but it was more about noticing your reactions and also the content more than judging ourselves for our delivery or some things that we might do. And so we are our worst enemies most of the time. So I I want to then continue here. And so, what we are sharing today, or what I am aiming to share with you today, will be about a reground. And it's like when you transplant a tree or a small plant, you check it out about the ground. How is it going? And the location. Is it really the right location for fertile soil in this case? So reflect on the shift from internal growth to grounded self-expression. And I put some notes here like these. They might be a little bit ambiguous, but it's just to explore what we have discussed once again the, the core of the program is mindset and is personal development. It's inner world to then take it to the outer world. And so I want us to explore emotional wealth, reframe emotional intelligence as the inner capital that fuels your personal leadership, you as a leader of your own life, la mujer que es totalmente capaz. However, when we lead ourselves, we are also able to read the environment, others around us, and so when we put faces or we roll our eyes, we might just give that impression. And although this is not a criticism, is once again the awareness that we bring to our emotional wealth and emotional intelligence with 10 key ingredients, if you want to call it that way, for us to master our own self-leadership. And so I also want to shape and clarify a little bit more about what it means 1 + 1 + 1. This is a concept that I have created to introduce one persona, one problem, and one outcome as a reflective scaffold for creating what you want to create, the agency in this case. And hopefully, one of the promises that I suggested for you to do was to commit to 30 days with the same idea rather than jumping. And I know that you were doing some courses and learning more about what could work and so on, and that is perfectly valid for you. And so I wonder how that concept of sticking to the same concept for 30 days is going. And begin articulating your voice. Well, it's another concept that I have included here. And we measured the this graph, and I will keep mentioning it to be honest with you. So this is about how are you moving through these quadrants, and are you still on Groundhog Day? Hopefully, and the financial pressures have not moved you any way, in any shape and form, to lower quadrants of being in a downward spiral and being in, you know, in a surviving state, and we explain that through the spiral of our value systems. And so I want you to perhaps share with me the evidence that you are bending reality. What synchronicities, what coincidences, what um, meetings, etc., you have brought or um, brought to yourself or created as opportunities. Exactly. So coincidences, synchronicities, actions, any dreams, any gut feelings, dreams about the same concept that we agree to stick for 30 days rather than new concepts. So this brings me to a point here to discuss what is parts integration. So one part and another part, and how do we integrate them? And this is more that I wanted to discuss from the old narratives that are rooted in your childhood. And I wanted to invite you at the start of the week, and I think you still have that hypnosis track, hopefully, to write a letter from your adult self to your younger self, right? So this is not from the same letter that we discussed, and from that point when we started to the point in 3 to 6 months when you have finished our sort of program together to see how you have advanced. And I think I requested for you not to share that one with me, but until the end. So I believe that this is not. However, this is an invitation for you to write at the start of the week that letter from where you are now as an adult to your younger self, the little girl that witnessed so many things and heard so many words or concepts about lack of money, and maybe even taboos, reproaches, judgments. And I want you, and this will help you build compassion for that little child that witnessed all these. And the aim is to that this will help to close the gap between the old story and the new. So when you are doing this hypnosis and at your bedtime, if that's what you have chosen, I invite you to integrate both of these two women, the adult one and the young one, and integrate them and bring them to your heart area as both of them come together to reconcile all their fears that they had. And I remember doing this exercise for many years ago. I think possibly about 15 years or so. And it was possibly with conflicting values. So one part was, you know, the loving partner, and the other part was the insecure and yeah, maybe not jealous, but insecure of that relationship. Anyway, so It's very powerful, so I suggest that let's not underestimate these. Then remember that I also want to keep this light because I want you to picture yourself having this giant leap, and every change, every massive change in our life, a massive change requires also a transformation, a leap that is a giant leap requires a giant transformation. That's what I'm trying to say here, and I'm not looking at my notes. So that is not a small thing to claim. And when you are navigating the terrain as a client seeking work, and the evidence of lack of money is all around you. And so the constant emotional translation and even evidence, oh, it's all lack, I need money, I need this, I need that, it's crazy because my dad was like that and I go crazy. And so that is not an easy thing what you are doing. It takes a lot of courage. And also we are at times struggling with cross linguistic connections because you are more familiar with your native language, which is Spanish. And I am honored to be able to help you with that cross cultural linguistic connection when it's needed. So, what happens when I lead from these values? And last week we spoke about values, or the week before last, we spoke about values. And I have a question. Have you noticed anything in your week that made you question them, question your values, or affirm them? And I remember that I think in our conversation 2 or 3 weeks ago, Patricia, you might change the value of responsibility for accountability. So I left responsibility here as we keep exploring, and you can actually change them. As I said, they're not set in concrete. But the most important thing is that awareness that you see them validating in your day-to-day actions. Sometimes we don't realize we are living out of a value, so the value of abundance, the value of growth, responsibility, until later on in our lives. So has anything come up for you that makes you think, oh, that felt like growth? Oh, I'm grown, I grew this week. See, it's not only you that makes language mistakes. We all do, and I'm okay with that. So, and also, the idea of this conversation here is that you notice, well, maybe that didn't feel like flexibility, or maybe what I did yesterday, it wasn't really original and originality. And that can be quite challenging because today we live in a world where everything has been invented. So we'll keep exploring these. So values, and I got your face there and I put the concepts that you mentioned that you wanted to keep exploring a little bit more and understand it because these are abstract concepts. And think about an abstract painting. The the artist painted the piece from his own point of view, and he conveys the message that the viewer might feel or think or see what it means to them. However, values, although they are an abstract concept, we explained very clear how they really exist daily in our life. And so this concept makes sense, and that word may not land right away, particularly because that is an abstract concept. So I totally understand. Translating values also across language, Spanish, English, the life here in Australia, and worldviews, as I explained, that some parts of where we come from in our countries are lower value systems. For example, we are connected in our cultures of origins to the magical world of spirits in Santeria and brujería and myth and animas del purgatorio and other things. And also, we are exposed by violence and these domination and power systems. So, yeah, it's very difficult to understand this right away. And the purpose of mentioning this is to try to connect with the values that you have chosen, inviting deep thinking and inquiry, self analysis, self inquiry. How does this fit in your world today and in the world of years to come? When you choose values, it will influence the way you act, the way you walk, the way you talk, the way you completely interact with people and your results in life. Because where you place your attention is also where you place your energy. So I can't really make assumptions here. And so in our next face to face conversation, I would like to think that you have done this, and I can say I can't make assumptions, but I silence is, you know, that your silence is that you have absorbed completely all these concepts and that you are okay. And so most of the time, I am trying to scoop a little bit of more information in order to calibrate how are you going with these concepts. And because also that will help me as well with what I need. So you don't need to also eliminate discomfort completely. It's just to notice it and notice that the values that you're introducing into your life, they are a new concept, and that you might not be aligned with all of them in one go, but you are getting there. So having that awareness. You only need to recognize these as a sign that you are in the right place exactly as you identify, wow, what is the discomfort? I'm not there yet. Well, you are in the right place because it's bringing awareness. So then we mentioned that values, the abstract concept, and I mentioned the threshold, and I apologize, I wasn't prepared to explain these in the best possible way at the time, on knowing that the word, the meaning of threshold was difficult, but searching, it means umbral. So it's like when think the other side of the coin, the el margen de algo, right? So I want to be able to explain these in the best possible way so that you, as a client, can understand these abstract concepts. So, when you notice, or when do you notice that something is not going right? Right? When do you notice that something is not going accordingly to what you had chosen, particularly if that was in abundance or flexibility, accountability? See, I changed it here from responsibility to accountability when I notice that you had this value. So that is the umbral threshold. So I wrote here in my notes that I am seeing on this side of the screen what signals your body gives you and where do you feel it. When something's not right in that threshold, in that umbral, que no es exactamente, you notice something is not quite right and you have that awareness. Do you feel it in your heart? Your heart starts beating fast. Is it in your stomach? Wow, in our stomach, we have also millions of neurons, and it is called the second brain. And so when that value is not present of abundance, of growth, accountability, flexibility, originality, how do you feel? What are the signals that you feel in your body? Or even if abundance is present, right? How do you notice it? And if abundance is not present, how also do you notice it? Is it a trepidation feeling? Is it that wherever you look, you open the cupboards and there's nothing in here or something? I want you to notice that we are looking here for alignment and not just meaning. So it is easier, and I am giving extra meaning here for you to understand these. The return to your values is about what feels off track, what doesn't, the track is here, but if it's something feels off track, that is el umbral. That is the threshold, right? So this is not really something to have a checklist, but it's more about awareness. And every time you increase that awareness, your alignment increases. That is what happens here. And so when I notice that abundance is lacking, is not there, what do I feel? Where do I feel it? What are the signs? When I notice that growth is not there as a value, what am I feeling? What am I noticing? What, in which part of the body? What am I seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting? Engage your five senses. So here it is. And I put this here to help you again because this is a difficult concept. And the most important part is that you have compassion with yourself. How does it feel when I am aligned to this value? Abundance, for example. I feel grateful, present, open to receiving. And you can read one And the same for growth. I am energized, learning, willing to try new things, even if I am unsure. Responsibility or accountability. I feel grounded and clear. I take ownership. So they are part of this value system that they complement all these words: gratefulness, being present, being open to receive, seeing opportunities and seeking opportunities, progress, right? Creativity, the value of the core value as a core value that you live your life through this abstract concept is about feeling inspired and curious and connected to your voice and your expression, your beautiful expression of a unique woman, a Latina with a rich cultural heritage. And so that is when you are aligned, you notice all these qualities and other values coming together. And here I have: how does it feel when I am not in alignment? So that is that threshold or umbral, el otro lado de la moneda, la otra cara de la moneda, el margen donde vemos ese umbral. Wow, está así como oscuro, right? So you feel anxious for example, in the core value of abundance, when you're not aligned, you might feel anxious, stuck, stuck in scarcity thinking, and overly focused on what is missing. I was talking to a friend on the weekend, and this lady has been offered a permanent job in a city council. And she said, "Oh, I went there on Friday to see how it was." And my goodness, it's somewhere in Melton, right? She lives in Essendon. And she was saying, people drive like crazy there. And I said, well, I questioned her. Are you seeing this from the point of view of scarcity and judgment rather than thinking, I drive at my legal speed, at my normal pace, and doing the right thing for everybody, and I let others drive as crazy as they want, as long as they are not endangering my life and security. Keep doing the right thing for yourself. And I think she paused and admitted that she's been seeing it from a very critical and scarcity mentality because she spent several months and weeks going through job applications and job interviews. And also, she spent month and month trying to assess if her contract was going to be renewed. And so it kept her on that edge of fight or flight response of being in a umbral, in a threshold, noticing all the negative sides of things. So when growth is not in alignment, you avoid or you might avoid challenges. You might feel overwhelmed or stagnant. And all those things are elements for us to notice that we have to recalibrate and take a step back and open our awareness and see it from a different point of view, the view of curiosity, possibility, of optimism. What else is possible here? And so on. So I will, when I send you the recording, you will be able to go through these. And so now we have the concept of the workbook that I shared with you in the first weeks of our connection and interaction. And here are the 10 key ingredients of emotional wealth, emotional intelligence. And I have actually been fascinated by this concept because I noticed a lot of change in my life after I went to study leadership, and I wanted to also make an emphasis in the program that I created that I will be able to impart this knowledge and concepts to women like you, that perhaps some women that just want to move further in their career, and some other women that I've been attracting and talking to, and um, hopefully they'll sign up as clients as well. They want to create and package their knowledge. And so before they pack their knowledge, they need to be able to realize all these unaware stuff that they have built over many years. And so that is that these 10 emotional intelligence capabilities or ingredients, skills, whatever you want to call it, are already in you. You have empathy, you have ways to build relationship, you have those skills. Your straightforwardness means that you speak directly to people as it is, as you see it yourself. And sometimes that includes, that we might be a little bit brutal and too cruel, perhaps, when and the way that we express. So this skill or element here has been put together to create that higher awareness, to master our own self through being the leaders of our lives. So these are ingredients, skills that you have already in you. We are simply, I simply here tuning, then fine tuning like a fine instrument, a guitar, a piano, into where they might be active or dormant. So some might be more active than others. Perhaps your adaptability after coming to Australia, but might be that your optimism is a bit low, or your empathy is high, but your self-control might be low. We don't know. So they some are more active, some are dormant. Before we do that, we do something brave on the outside, like establishing a business in a digital agency and being this wonderful architect of design and brand that you want to be. So we want to then be very aware of these skills. So yes. We need to feel strong on the inside before we launch our own business and be able to maintain that clarity throughout challenging times. So the workbook is a space for you and clients to strengthen all these and emerge on the other side with a stronger knowledge of who you are, what's dormant, what is active, and how can we bring them all into alignment. And that takes a lot of time. So why emotional wealth? And emotional wealth is our ability to lead ourselves, right? That is what it means. Emotional, so we're talking about emotions, and wealth is that abundant, rich resources that we have, ability to lead ourselves or yourself in this case, not just with your mind, but with your emotions. with your choices, your vision. So it's how you relate to yourself and to others. That is what emotional wealth is actually means here. Emotional intelligence is how you relate to yourself and to others in a way that feels strong, real, and clear. So what we are exploring here is not a diagnostic tool because we didn't do the real emotional capital report to receive the scores of these data that they have evaluated over 7,000 entries, and they did a scientific calculation for how people respond that is quite accurate actually. So this is more here in between this exchange is a mirror for you to reflect your current levels of your emotional strength and spaces where you can grow so that you can lead your life and work with intention. Um, I will repeat myself before we are able to package our knowledge and move forward. We need to then have that strength of our own capabilities. And the inner world is about noticing how you see yourself. The outer is how you meet change and adversity. And other is how I meet change and adversity. What? How you meet change and adversity is the outer. And the inner is how you notice and you see yourself. And these are not steps, they are lenses. So, like I use glasses, and so it's a new lens for you to see the world, and that will sharpen that way that you see the world. And so, therefore, you know, we are not diagnosed. This is not a diagnosis to say this person lacks adaptability or lacks something. No, is a new lens for us because we are able to, when we master this, we are able to read a room and we are able to quickly change tactics and messages if we start seeing that the response is not great and being able to recognize that. So, once again, this is a mirror of to show you where you are at, the emotional awareness that you cultivate through these exercises as well, and quietly but powerfully shape how you are perceived at work and in your own business. So this will help you create further awareness. And your emotional wealth inventory. Here I put this slide with you get to know how each of these lives in your story. The goal isn't to master them all because there are 10 ingredients, and that's quite a lot. However, to meet yourself inside of these ingredients, these skills, these capabilities, and this work takes a lot of practice. And I feel that throughout the 5 previous weeks together, there's been a lot of development on your self-knowing. Self-knowing is about understanding your emotions and patterns. Self-confidence, for example, is about maintaining motivation and achieving in challenging goals. Self-reliant is about being self-directed, complete, have power and responsibility to choose between options That's also what self-reliant means, because you will be confronted with many choices. Self-actualization is actually um, achieve balance between work and life and derive satisfaction from your accomplishment. That is what self-actualization means. For example, some people that give and contribute from their work and help others and create a legacy, they are then contributing and achieving a higher level of self-actualization. And yeah. So straightforwardness here is that you're comfortable, right? It means that you're comfortable with challenging the views of others. And if you can challenge my view on certain things, I have challenged some of yours, and give clear messages, because our communication can be so ambiguous and confusing. So when you give clear, and we women can be terrible at saying to our partners, oh, yeah, it's okay. But inside we are feeling, no, I don't want you to go to that football game. I want you to step up and, clean the house and help here because I'm doing it all. And so that is what straightforwardness. You are comfortable with challenging views and giving clear messages. Relationship buildings is about gaining support and commitment of others. And that is when we understand rather than being understood. Empathy, take into account other people's feelings when we understand them deeply, and that and straightforwardness can conflict at times. Self-control is about remaining calm during stressful situations. And I can imagine if a person is being pressed by the lack of work and the challenges of paying bills, how difficult it is to maintain a balanced level of self-control and not respond abruptly to our partners or children or whoever else is around us. Adaptability is about being tolerant of others and receptive to new ideas. And I can imagine being a migrant, we develop these high levels of adaptability. However, sometimes we demonstrate that adaptability stays with the lens of the past, because we want things to be exactly as they were in our old country. We don't understand the jokes at work of this new group of people, and sometimes we don't make the effort to understand it. And optimism is you can see the big picture and focus on possibilities. So that is the 10 key capabilities of this emotional wealth inventory that, and I have brought it back to your values now in motion. So I want you to let the workbook simmer with you. That is like you have this pot in a very low flame with the soup, whatever there, with all those ingredients, and it's simmering very slow. And that's what it means. You are not expected to feel this out tonight. You are invited to begin a new kind of dialogue with yourself, and you pick up few pages, reflect and pause, and return when you're ready, and grab momentum, because developing these 10 key capabilities, it takes time, courage, determination, and also strength, a lot of strength to keep curious about what's working and what's not. So, therefore, the book contains a part that is called the legacy lens. And I have decided to hold off on this part of the legacy lens. So it has three lenses on three different positions, points of views, points of view. And I think this is sacred work. It's no doubt about it. What we have done is a completely sacred space where I, it's so easy to underestimate the work that we have done in the past 5 weeks. But it deserves this part moving ahead. It deserves its own spotlight and space. So I have decided to leave it there for now. But I will be bringing these concepts in a couple of weeks as you complete and review all the emotional uh, emotional wealth journey. So do I feel called to support in this season of my life? And I don't remember why I wrote this. And think of a real I don't remember why I wrote that particular note. Do I feel called to support in this season of my life? So, okay, I will check it out. So, I think of a real not-for-profit, uh, maybe a coach, a past client, a friend, um, even part of your self in the past. What are they like? What do they long for? Right? So, who needs what I offer, what you offer, and but feels overwhelmed by technology or branding? So, that is what we wanted to explore here in this scaffold of one plus one plus one persona, one problem, and one outcome. What emotional or practical challenge is holding them back? What keeps them stuck, unsure, overwhelmed, or disconnected from their potential? So if I supported them, if you supported them fully, what shift will they experience? And I know that you've been helping me as well simultaneously with the exact words so that I can attract more my ideal client. And so thank you. And so I am putting that now on your court. The ball is on your court. So if I supported them fully, what shift will they experience and how would they feel, act, or show up differently? What becomes possible for them? So this is the notes that I wrote, and I put an image here in this slice of a scaffold. That's what it means, scaffolding. And begin with clarity and build with heart. And to be honest, I put a lot of effort to try to explain these concepts to you in a way that also matches on visual uh, slides to challenge the way that I present these and the way that you could receive it. So, this is the moment where your values, your emotional clarity, so begin with clarity and build with heart, and future offering begins to find shape through some focus. And so, who do I feel called to support right now? Right? This is what it says there as the persona. It might be someone like you once were. And I know that my program, it reflects part of Maria completely. A woman that suffered, from being in contracts and the emergency response that that created. Totally, I went home exhausted and I thought, oh my God, and then I have to quickly cook dinner for myself and keep applying for jobs. That's how my life went for years and years. And it felt exhausting. So, who do you feel called to support? And that might be someone like you once were. And think about it deeply because they are there waiting for you. What challenge is this person struggling with? And if you support it, then what will shift for them? How are we going here? So this isn't about perfection, and I wanted to put this puzzle of words there to see what the hell. So, and I wanted to add some of the words that were brainstorm. I think I offer you some of these. Creative transformation architect, heart-led brand architect, conscious brand creator, emotional brand aligner. You don't have to define your full offer today. This is a first whisper or introduction. Uh, so this is the beginning of this journey and trust what shows up. So creative transformation architect. So these words emphasizes the process and intellect behind the work. So creative transformation architect. Yeah, so an architect does a lot of different calculations and very not only intellectual, but the intellectual meet and blends the process, the visual process of behind the work. It suggests that you are not just a designer, so you are architecting change through creativity. So think about all these words and what they mean to you and how they feel to you as well. Ideal if you want to work with clients undergoing branding, pivoting, or life reinvention. So that is also what I mentioned about my friend Alex Ward, and that she works as a brand and core story, and that she might have some clients that will need what you have, and it will be great if you can connect with her. So the heart-led architect, it was the second you know, concept that we thought and speaks directly to your values driven approach. So it's saying that you're hard led. When you are hard led, you are driven by values. And the word hard-led centers an emotional intention, and it's very clear. So if you want to position yourself as someone who listens deeply and translate that into visual identity, so the heart-led brand architect can be a perfect title for you and it could blend beautifully. You just got to let it grow on you. The conscious brand creator. And I am brainstorming all of these concepts here with you. And this suggests mindfulness, conscious brand creator, mindfulness awareness, and purpose as well. So great if you want to attract clients who care about social impact as you keep narrowing your audience, sustainability, wellness, or soul aligned brand. So it's a lot to think about here. Emotional brand aligner is very unique and is also quite strong, and it denotes power. It elevates emotional resonance as a service, right? And not just a byproduct of the service, but it signals, it gives signs that you help people and brands to express who they are from the inside out. Emotional brand aligner. So you help them express who they are from the inside out, just as I am helping you to understand all these capabilities of your emotional wealth for you to be able to express them from the inner core to your outer world as well. And who they are from the inside, perhaps even using emotional intelligence or values mapping. And wow, maybe we could be working together in the near future. So, what becomes possible for you, for your persona, when you combine your creative eyes with AI powered tools, as we also have to consider the consequences of AI in your business model and in what you want to create. We have to have it very well defined here. And how does that amplify the shift to help you create more, right? And to help your ideal persona to create what they want. Wow. So I put the word here integration with the lovely photo of you. Beautiful. So you're not launching, right? This is not about launching, but you are listening. And I know that part of our aim in the first weeks of when I did that onboarding, was about you sending a message to all your contacts to let them know what were your intentions. So today was about noticing seeds that you have planted, and these seeds are having, here instead of marigolds or petunias, we have the seeds of clarity. And that also comes from increasing your emotional wealth and these meeting then like two rivers or two streams of water come together and flow and meet with intention, right? So you don't need to have all the answers. You only need to be in relationship with what's beginning to form here. So, with what's beginning to arise from all of this work together. Optionally, you can have some journaling and what has surfaced for you, what has surprised you, and let this clarity simmer, as I mentioned before. But I think the workbook has enough prompts to not introduce more, but also just let them integrate. And perhaps you can journal with the prompts that the workbook offers from all the 10 emotional wealth capabilities. Right, so this is it. I want to stop sharing the screen because we have come to the end of our presentation. And I hope that you have been able to listen to this in a powerful way and to be able to integrate all these listen over and over again now that you're not seeing your facial reactions. This might, you are seeing mine. And so being able to listen to these concepts and commit yourself to the work that is going to move you forward. Thank you so much once again for accepting my challenge and for also you inviting me to join you as your co-partner here, co-creating together with you. I trust you completely, and I know that you are capable more than what you even imagine. And I can't wait to see you shining completely in the concept of what you want to create and seeing you a fulfilled and successful woman. Ciao.